So you are not just water polo, Brenda. You love all type of sports?
Yes, I mean, so my parents are Mexican, and I know growing up, we always cheered on the Mexican soccer football team.
Yes.
So for me, one of the first sporting teams was that team, the national team. And my parents, I remember the Mexican national anthem and all these things growing up. And even then to baseball, American baseball, there was a picture of Hernando Valenzuela, like big time pitcher, Mexican descent.
Yes.
And we followed them. We went to games. So it's always has been different sports. And then, of course, when we saw ourselves in these athletes, then it was easier to follow and support. And my older brother and I played soccer together. I was in the goal because it was a boys team. They're like, we need an extra player, just go in the goal. But I lived across the street from a park and a pool, and I was able to just play every sport, and my parents allowed it as long as my homework was done. And then I saw that water polo was my favorite and I was the best at that one. So then as I got a little older, probably 8th grade is when I devoted most of my time to water polo and swimming.
And Brenda, how did you get involved in sports? What drove you? Was something that you heard from your mother, a role model?
That I've always been a competitive person. And I always joke and I say that my mom was okay with me playing water polo because at age 10, I was just as good or better than the boys. Because she noticed the confidence and the fun that I had, but it was never an issue for her to be in this co-ed sport at a young age, which now that I think about our culture and other things and other friends, I'm like, wow, like my mom was progressive in some ways, right?
And Brenda, what would you say? I think our purpose changes in life. So for you, was something at the beginning, you have a lot of fun. When do you remember that you start dreaming high, that really drove you in terms of your values to keep doing and to become one of the best in the world?
And because I am so competitive, in my head, I'm like, why not? Being one of the only or the few, right? That our first generation Mexican American, as I was climbing the ranks of USA water polo, then it was that fueled me. Like, why can't I be just as good as everyone else? And because I am competitive, then it's like, well, why can't I go to these schools? Or, oh, that's a really good school. Can I go there? Why not? And then I looked at it and did research and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, do I really want to go there? Like, why not? So it like a dream like that happened so organically. So then that was something that I started aspiring towards, and I already enjoyed school. So it worked out for me in the sense where it just helped me stay motivated. And I mean, there were bumps along the way, just as no one in my family had gone to college, like the application process and the cost of college and all of these things. But for me, I kind of knew that kind of by high school or freshman year, right, that water polo was growing, that maybe I could use that to help me pay for college. So it just allowed me to continue to dream big until someone said no, right?
And did someone ever say no to you?
You know, I guess not. And I think there was just all these opportunities that I was able to take advantage of. And what I realized is going to commerce, to where Sandy started all of that, right? And that's like, it goes to my purpose even now, where just expanding the access to more kids into aquatics. Because if I didn't grow up in that city, I don't think I would have become a 4-time Olympian. I probably would have gone to college, right? Because my parents supported that dream and I enjoyed school. So I would have figured that out, but I don't think I would have become the water polo player.
Brenda, it's such an inspirational story that you show how sports open doors to the dreams, and there is no limit for you what you are dream and you are capable of. So how did you live in your life in terms of adversities, difficulties? How do you face them?
For me, is having the support system to talk about the struggles in sport. My mom, a lot, just for the emotional toll that sports brings. There were many times where I questioned what I was doing, and conversations with my mom always helped. I know that I made the right decision in the college that I attended, because even now I have these relationships with my coaches. John Tanner, I believe, has been a mentor since I was 18. And I've always had like a supportive group in the City of Commerce. And now that I reflect back, especially now with all this reckoning around like race and ethnicity and oppression, right? I think that I was able to block a lot of that out because I was at the top of the game. So I couldn't hear the negative. And now when I think back, I'm like, you shouldn't have to be at the top to not hear it. That's kind of another purpose that I have now. It's like to make it just more inclusive. And then I wonder, would I have been that much of a better player if I didn't have to pivot all the time?
How do you see that is key, and now being a coach, a mother as well, what is key to create a real team, Brenda?
You have to have common experiences in and out of the water. By me seeing my teammates in their own elements out of the water makes me understand them a little better. Seeing you interact with your siblings or your parents just gives me more information about you in ways that I can connect with you. And then it allows me to know about maybe certain actions that they take or certain behaviors, right? So it just gives you a full picture. It allows us to also understand different personalities, because you can't get all of that just from playing. There are times where it is business, right? Like we all want to win, and I think having these strong relationships helps that also, especially in times of adversity, right? Or in times where you're facing something you've never faced before. How do you continue to stick together? And it's just, I have more information about you so I can find different ways to connect with you. So it's all about connection. It's all about relationships.
I remember I was already one of my last years in water polo, and you were just starting. So when you would enter in the water being with the US team, you're so young. And one thing that I always saw on you, your smile. I'm so happy to be there in the environment and everything.
I think I just loved playing. And I think for me, I just was able to compartmentalize everything. So as I was in the water, there was joy, right? I loved it. I loved competing. I was lucky that for so long, I still found that joy, even in the ups and downs and the journey and the teammates. That's the one thing about team sports, is you have so many people to lean on. I talk about water polo. So much of it was good. And that's why I'm always smiling, because I want that feeling for anybody that plays our sport.